Welcome back. Well, yes, indeed. We're talking about security again today. And as you may have seen in that welcoming slide, Major Gabriel Adofiko is a immediate past Secretary General, retired Army, Navy, Air Force Officers Association. Good morning. Thank you for joining us again today. You know, just looking through all that happens, what kind of conversation goes on amongst your former professional colleagues when you see all of these things going on? Do you feel, look, security agencies are certainly not living up to their billing?
Good morning, Chamberlain. It's nice being around with you. Thank you for inviting me. First,
oh dear, well, clearly not coming through yet, but we'll check that connection again and see how that can be sorted. I mean, I'm just trying to get a sense of, maybe there's a group of his professional colleagues looking through all that is happening. You certainly will have a thought or two about, oh dear, why is this happening? What could have happened here? And then security officials will always tell you, we do come up with intelligence and we pass it on. Oh. So it depends on what they do with it when we pass it on.
And it reminds me of the conversation we had yesterday about think tanks.
Yeah.
I mean, when you have a lot of brilliant minds in defense, military, security, and the rest, and they come together, they come up with ideas. This is what is wrong. This is how insecurity is shape-shifting. So it's always good to lean on that vast resource of brain, mental capacity in combating insecurity. Because truth be told, if there's anything we have learned, this is not something just for government.
Yeah.
This is not something just for the army. It's a collective effort, absolutely.
The challenge, guys, for me is, even again, that conversation we had yesterday between the two retired army generals that we spoke with. One thing that stood out for me, and still a major concern, is, okay, I'm going to go there, the kinetic or the non-kinetic. But the one that is really painful is the non-kinetic, the social welfare. We were speaking with Colonel Nyam yesterday, and he was saying, look, when the Constitution talks about welfare and security, it's clearly talking about the kinetic and non-kinetic. Security being the hardware, the military, and all of those. But the welfare being the social welfare. Clearly, if we took enough care of the welfare angle, I'm wondering if we will still have the level of insecurity that we have on our hands. And that is one of the things that a good number of, security consultants that we have spoken with have also said that, look, whether we like it or not, unemployment figures, poverty figures, hunger figures, these things are pointers to insecurity. And we're wondering, is it that we're unaware, or that we can't even take on these issues as simply as they ought to be taken? So it's a major challenge, Chamberlain, and I'm just wondering how long it's going to take us to think it through.
Well, let's get back to Major Adofiko. He's still on. Do we have you on now, Jonah? Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, so go ahead. You were going to speak about what? The impression or that of your colleagues about what's going on.
Yes. First of all, if you can hear me now, Chamberlain, I want to appreciate all of you for the job you are doing. Very quickly, your question is, what is our impression of the security situation in the country? And I like to say it in a very summarized form that not only are we as a nation embarrassed, as a section of the nation that has been saddled with, and our colleagues still being saddled with, the responsibility of managing the security of the nation, we feel very, very sad, very concerned. However, I would like to make certain points very clear very quickly. One, the security architecture of any nation is not indicative in nature. we can only pick one of those things from other nations in order to complement or to engage that which you already have.
General, pardon me, I think that line is not too clear. Can't make out what you're saying clearly, but we'll try and adjust that and get it back on so we can all get it a lot clearer. But, you know, there's just there appear basic questions about these things, because we've seen governors from the north to the south complain about what is going on. And we know that the Governors Forum is a huge, do we call them the highest pressure group in the country? Because if they put their foot down about certain things, there's over 70% chance that they will get what they want. So the question then is, what do they think about this? And not just individually. Do they agree on what to do about this kind of challenge? And if they do, why are we still where we are? Does it suggest that they haven't yet? Who knows? Well, let's try and see if we do have him back. General, could you please go ahead?
Yes. Again, like I was saying, the security situation is sad to all, particularly we who have been part of the security arrangements of the country as ex-service personnel, and those and our colleagues who are in service, we feel for them. But again, we feel for the nation. Putting sentiments apart and expressions of emotions aside, I would like just to point out certain fundamental issues concerning the security of this nation. One, we have several times mouthed the expression that security is the responsibility of everyone. But we have always failed to articulate and in cases explicitly define what are the roles of everyone. Because if you say security is the responsibility of everyone and you don't tell everyone what is their duty, then you find there will be blank files in your system. Secondly, the security setup in the country needs a close review. Today, all emphasis is on the armed forces. I can appreciate the reason for that. When you watch on TV and you see pictures of people carrying GPMGs as a general purpose machine gun, rocket propelled grenade launchers, and the grenades fused on, and you see anti-aircraft weapons being mounted on jeeps. Those are not the kind of weapons you will want a police arrangement, a civil police arrangement to address. Those are not the kind of things you would want vigilantes to address. Those are not the kind of things you will want hunters to address, because those things carry, they are weapons of mass destruction. They are highly toxic. So, with that understanding, coming back to our situation in the country, now we have severally expressed that majority, in quotes, of these attackers, bandits, whatever we call them, Boko Haram, and in whatever name, that they come across our borders, that they are foreigners. Now, if you put that on the queue, if they are foreigners, that they have free access, entry and exit into our country, completely challenges the status of our immigration system, the border control system. Now, if you say these people carry this heavy equipment coming and out of the country, it challenges our customs, border control system as it affects customs in terms of non-human equipment, materials coming into the country.
You know,
Yes.
Sorry, were you going to say something?
Yes, I was going to say that. Therefore, a starting point would have been, how do we block this inflow and outflow of humans and equipment? And when you ask that kind of question, you want to provide an answer to it, then suddenly you see government come up with a policy on visa on arrival. For a country like Nigeria, I think that policy again accentuated, knowing that on arrival everybody can take any bush path and disappear into the country. That again calls to some questions. Why, on what basis we really have to do that with the kind of security situation we have?
What has visa on arrival policy have to do with this? Are you saying people will carry JMG, JPG to the airports, taking advantage of visa on arrival policy?
Chamberlain, you know and I know, if you have had the opportunity of visiting any of our border posts, particularly in the northern part of the country, you will find out that you can stroll away 200 meters from the immigration point and you take any bush path, you are inside the country. So that again has affected the influx of these elements. But like I was saying, I'm just beginning from that border control. The border control, the immigration service, the customs service, and every role player at that had to be reformed, repositioned, and reinforced.
I'm sorry, in order to help us understand this a little better, do you have any stats to show that before the visa and arrival policy, this was the situation, and with the introduction of the visa and arrival policy, this is what we now have? Do you have that, for instance, to justify your point that the visa and arrival policy is aggravating the matter? Because for economic purposes.
I just use the visa on arrival policy as one of the factors that would have accentuated an already fluid situation. You have an already fluid situation. Now, ask ourselves, what was the basis of that policy? Was it that people were closing our embassies overseas and we needed to ease the pressure of the embassy by allowing people to come on arrest? Was it the direct attempt at the language we use ease on investment to bring in foreign investment into the country? These are questions that we have not been able to sit down together and answer to ourselves. Like I say, it accentuated an existing porous border control system that we have.
All right, we'll come back to this in just a moment, guys. That particular policy, we're just trying to find out, because there are several countries that do have the same policy. Way before we introduce ours, they don't have the kind of challenge we've got. And so that's what we're trying to find out from him. So what figures do you have to say that the visa and arrival policy, because it was an economic decision. They said, look, that was to boost economic trade. And so if you're saying that that is contributing to the thing, then we need to see those figures. Especially
when you know that the economy and security are tied together. Our guest earlier on was saying where we are now is the fact that insecurity is fueling unemployment. And don't forget, unemployment was fueling insecurity. So it's now a vicious cycle as it is. But also, I don't know if we have Major back, just trying to clean that audio so our viewers can understand and hear what he's saying well. When you look at the recent attacks we've had, in Katsina, for example, we've had in Niger State, we've had in Zamfara. Now the abduction is in Kaduna. And when you look at the positioning of the states, you realize that those are the three states bordered Kaduna already. So yes, we could talk about blocking those arms from coming into the country, but as it stands now, they're in the country and they're moving inwards, if I could just use that, because they were first around those states. Now Kaduna, what states will they be going to next? So that would be another angle of this. I mean, the ones we have on ground, how are we going to ensure? Okay, I think we have Major back. So Major Adofiko, so yes, we can also talk about ensuring that those arms don't come into the country and all that. But for the ones we have in the country already, I mean, seeing how it seems this insecurity is moving from state to state, how do we block that?
Yes. Now, I'm going to give you a very quick, because of time available to us, a very quick run through on what I think are the issues that we must address immediately. First of all, beginning with the armed forces. The armed forces had a structure that is called the order of battle for the nation. That order of battle, I will not be in the position to discuss the detail on television. But in recent times, with the development of one task force arrangement here and there, it has impaired the capacity of clear definition of terms of lines of engagement of our forces on the ground. So leave that there. For the police, I want to say this. The police is structured in a manner that in every community you have a post, and then you have units, then you have a station, then you have a division, and then you have a state command, and then the zonal command. These structures are designed to cover the whole across-board gamut of the society. In other words, a small community like Kagara, which is a semi-urban setting, has a divisional police station. And I couldn't understand why 500 meters radius of that particular location in Niger State, there is no police station, no police post. It is this kind of close to the people setting that will ease communication. I overheard when you were discussing with the honorable member the communication capacity in terms of security challenges. Please, the truth of the matter is that there is a distortion in the capacity of the public to interface with these security arrangements. Not to talk about the DSS. The DSS, we know that in every local government, they have a subunit there. This subunit, what do? Do they collect, and transmit intelligence? Then you talk about another big body which we armed a couple of less than 10 years ago, the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense, whom we say should augment the visible security presence, the visible policing system in our environment. For Christ's sake, I was watching your transmission some few minutes ago of loading children that were taken away, those number of children. I could see that averagely it took about 38 seconds for each child to climb down from that military vehicle. So you can imagine how people come and load these ones away on bikes and whatever means and take them away in such large quantities. Not to talk about 10s, 20s, but hundreds.
So if I could jump in at that point, does that then suggest, are you suggesting that certainly some authorities are involved in what is going on?
I am suggesting that our information management as far as security is concerned is under challenge, and we must do something very quickly on it. It is possible that the transmission, the communication of intelligence may be there, but probably not acted upon. If that is the case, then we have a big problem.
One other issue, just a moment as we wind down gradually. One other thing that one wonders about all of this is, in the first place, these things shouldn't be happening. So we're doing a lot more of fighting than preventing. And I think you underscored it in the information dissemination that you talked about now. You itemized the fact that intelligence all over the nation is there. Whether or not those intelligence get ahead to people as and when due is another thing altogether. And from the little analysis that you've given us now, average 38 seconds for each child to climb up or down from a vehicle, I mean, that's quite significant. What do you think happened to intelligence at that point? And whose head should roll?
Thank you very much, my brother. You have just asked the kind of question I like asking. For Christ's sake and for crying out loud, have you heard that anybody has been relieved of his appointment for such a major incident as we've been experiencing in a row? Nobody. Yes, we were all crying. I remember I was on one of your programs when there was this outcry about service skills being changed and all that. Well and good. And I commented as a passing message that time that how sure are we that just changing service chiefs may not be a palliative, but that does not deal with the fundamental. Again, we are seeing it resurging or resurfacing. What we need to do as a nation is, as a people, is begin to take responsibility for our circumstances. And what do I mean? Particularly public office holders. If I am a commissioner of police in a state and 200 students were taken, Before you even begin your program, 7 a.m. in the morning, I would have tendered my letter of resignation. I'm not going higher than that because it will become political. That's the Nigerian nature. Similarly, I have not seen a situation where we've been told the unit commander, whatever security arrangement in that area, or the unit commanders, because we have a horde of them there. You have the civil defense, you have the police, you have the SSF, you have everybody there. Before you even call in the military, these agencies have roles to play. What roles have they been playing? I give you a very an illustration that will prove my point. 45 years ago, I was in the wee days of the reign of Amadou Ahidjo and the beginning of the current president of the Cameroons. I strolled into one of the Cameroonian villages, and within 30 minutes, the unit police commander there had been informed of my presence and had come to ask, please, what are you really here for? Look, sometimes people give you an unnecessary impression that is a stiff control, that is a communist approach. No.
All right.
These are what you call social accountability. We don't have social accountability. We don't even know who is where at any moment in the community. These kind of useful information are the things that help us.
All right, Major Gabriel Adofiku, we do thank you for your perspectives this morning. I mean, the country is not short of advice and suggestions as to what to do.
We had time to be very frank to ourselves on this. It's time we get cracking and deal decisively with the issues as it is. People should take responsibility for their failures. We should stop having explanations or excuses for failures. I think that is a starting point for us as a nation. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much indeed. All right. Yes. Let's take a look at some of the messages.
Well, the first one would be coming on the screen any moment now, so we'll know. I think it's from Yomi, something like that. Yes, that is it. Says the methods of recruitment in public office, leadership positions, and general mindset around governance needs to change in Nigeria. Why would one who is called trained and employed to protect people go behind to work with enemies of the country or employer?
That's a big question there. Let's take a look at the next one. Well, there you go from Manasseh saying, why can't the National Assembly ensure critical measures to increase the numerical strength of our security forces, increase their visible oversight, and expose all weaknesses, and ensure people take responsibilities for their actions?
Well, this next one says, the honorable member talks about 13 trillion and forgets the 5 trillion deficit, debt servicing, and increased borrowing. We don't have 13 trillion to spend. There is nothing to restructure. No, there's nothing to mop up, sir. Go unicameral. Get part-time lawmakers. Restructure to deconstruct, decongest the center. Well, will that happen?
Well, we hope that the Honorable, as he said, would legislate it. James says the National Assembly will continue to have members who go there to defend the bogus budget allocation to itself rather than make the necessary sacrifice using little to create more. Restructuring it to one house will reduce costs.
And you know what they say? You know what? Let's take the next tweet. We need part-time National Assembly. Well, that's what they say, in a truly federalized system where the units control their resources against this current system. The legislators rather, are earning far too much for doing nothing, he says. I don't know a poor former National Assembly member. That's quite an interesting statement.
This one is also from Augustine. That's yours.
Well, it says that legislative business in Nigeria should not be run as a full-time business. It should be run on a part-time basis, and legislators should be paid on an hourly basis, because some members do not attend sittings and yet still earn for services not rendered.
I mean, have KPIs, have targets, have, clock in and clock out time.
Do we have an audit system for the legislature?
Oh.
Don't answer the question.
Okay.
Well, because you have the answer. There you go.
Well, that's the show for today, everyone. Thank
Yeah.
you so much for watching. I am Kayode Kikelu.
Please do stay safe. I'm Ayo Makinde.
We'll see you next time. I'm Chamberlain Uso.